Welcome to my open studio exhibition. Our home and studios are in a converted church in the historic village of Temple, just south of Edinburgh. Temple was the headquarters of the Knights Templar in Scotland in the 14th century. Our home is the early Victorian church, which was built in 1832, across the road from the ruined church where the Templars had their settlement. I've been working in glass for nearly 50 years, and my husband Robin Morton has a recording studio and the headquarters of Tempo Records here as well. Engraving on glass doesn't take up much room, so for exhibitions I can take over the recording studio, as well as some of the other lovely spaces in this old building. Of course, there's no substitute for seeing the work in real life. This is especially true of glass, but I hope this video will give an introduction to the work. My exhibition this year includes some older and some very new work which has developed out of the present situation. The COVID-19 crisis has affected so many exhibitions and festivals this year, including the Edinburgh Festival, and has disrupted all our usual working patterns, not to mention our social lives. This piece, Lockdown 2020, is my response. It shows the isolation that we are all experiencing, illustrated by each of the figures in the little windows. These apartment blocks have much the same theme, using the reflections and refractions in the solid blocks of optical glass. Each shows a little domestic drama. They can be stacked on each other, and I have collectors who are building tower blocks with these in combination with the black resin blocks that I cast off the engraving. They seem to have almost predicted the present situation and had a resonance with people's experience even before lockdown. The large panel, Graffiti Artist, connects the contemporary with the ancient past. The background motifs are adopted from designs on the Neolithic tombs of Scotland and Ireland. They are associated with calendars and star maps and look just as relevant today given a contemporary treatment. I always do a lot of drawing, and these waiting pieces were developed from sketches that I made of fellow passengers in airports, stations and at bus stops. We're all waiting for something, either literally or figuratively. My work often revolves around the human experience, but perhaps because of lockdown, I find myself focusing more on nature and the environment. These tall lit birch tree panels are set in summer, autumn and winter. The birch forest mirrors nature as it changes colour throughout the seasons. The theme of trees continues in Night Dreamer, engraved on a disc of flashed glass and set against a dark night sky. The astronomer panel incorporates an actual lens. It lets the figure look beyond itself at the vast night sky. This is one of my timepiece panels, my major project in 2019, which was funded by Creative Scotland. You can see more about the making of these pieces in another short video called Art in Glass, which you can link to from my website. Constellation carries on the celestial theme, but the image is composed of tiny bubbles trapped by fusing two layers of engraved glass together. Blue is a wonderful colour in glass, and here we have the sea and the sky featured in Diver and Blue Moon. My archaeological studies often come into my pieces. This mysterious doorway with cup and ring markings, again these may have had a celestial significance, is one of my Threshold series. We are all constantly moving to another stage in life. Doorways are places of a transition. We are surrounded by doorways and constantly having to make decisions about whether to cross the thresholds and what is on the other side. It's not just in painting that there is a tradition of portrait painting. It's true of glass engraving as well. Around 2010, James Holloway, then director of the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, commissioned me to create the donor window for the gallery. It includes 13 portraits of generous patrons, which I suppose makes me one of the most represented artists in the gallery. This series of self-portraits was part of the experimental process, as I had to work out some new ways of using the glass for that project. I do a lot of drawing, and it always surprises me when people come to my shows and say, "I didn't know you could draw as well." If you can't draw it, you can't engrave it, and I usually practice on myself. My self-portraits use a range of different media. This profile was engraved on both sides of flashed glass. The enamelled portrait reads as a black and white painting, but when light shines through it, it also throws a great shadow on the background. Glass can be used as a plate to print from. You can engrave onto it, ink it up, and put it through a press. It sounds risky, but in this landscape series, you can see how many different effects are possible from one plate. You can also emboss images into the paper when it has been printed, as here in Dryad. Last Dance is printed from the engraving of a lace dress. It's double printed and embossed with little details. Carrying on the theme of fabric, this is a group of linen fold panels. These are cameo engraved, where the glass is fused in layers, either black on white or white on black, and the engraving goes through the layers to give the modelling and shading. A collector recently commissioned me to create some pieces on the subject of butterflies. I always enjoy commissions because, as many of them do, including commissions from the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, they open up new possibilities. These led me to expand on the initial idea in a series of small and large butterfly pieces. The butterfly collection shows them escaping from their pinned silhouettes. In The Singer, the butterflies represent the musician's voice. Bees have been a constant subject in my work over many years, and this time they feature in a number of unusual glasses and honeycomb globes, with some of the bees gilded with gold leaf. Glass never ceases to surprise me. It has the character of a window, a door or a mirror, and I use these in my Threshold series. Our mother lived till she was 100, and at the same time our grandchildren were being born, so these pieces are all about beginnings and endings. Wheel engraving is perfect for representing the surface of skin and muscle. I love to use the classic engraving technique in this way. In Echo, you can see how it is basically low relief sculpture in reverse. You obviously have to have good understanding of anatomy. On the other hand, it can be combined with sandblasting to give a looser, more painterly effect. This piece, Listener, catches the stillness of the figure frozen in time. It is through glass that we often see the world these days. Subway photographer is based around a lens. The 63 small portraits are developed from lightning sketches that I've done of fellow passengers, mostly on the A train subway in New York. I once heard that in the 14th century, the average person met 100 people in their life. Nowadays, we pass as many people in the click of a shutter in an hour. Again, you can see more about the making of these panels on a video, Art and Glass, on my website. Glass is there, but it's not there. That's part of its magic. A glass mask is an apparent contradiction in terms. The symbols on these are again based on Neolithic carvings. The Scottish legend of the Silkie inspired these cast crystal seals. Inside each is a figure, the Silkie who can come on land and take human form. The words engraved round this goblet are the incantation used by Scottish witches to transform themselves into a hare. While the triple hair disc is my version of an image used since medieval times. This group of glasses illustrate the magical plants and the Gaelic charms that were recited by Hebridean islanders for luck, health and love. I hope that people who drink from them will find these too. The display of soldiers is only part of a major installation entitled Unknown, which includes 60 figures. Glass seemed the ideal medium with which to represent the fragility of life in time of war. Hidden amongst them are some civilian figures, regularly officially listed as collateral damage. The inherent irony of the expression trivialises the shocking effects of war, too often ignored when it comes down to the head count. This installation, in different forms, toured around 20 National Trust for Scotland venues and cathedrals, all organised by the late and much missed Lester Borley, who used much of his boundless energy to promote the tour. It also visited museums and galleries in Scotland, Poland and Murano in Italy. The public response was very moving, especially when it was displayed in a number of cathedrals over the Remembrance period. I hope it will eventually find a permanent home or homes, as each part can be displayed separately. If you do have any suggestions, please talk to me. We had a very successful and busy exhibition during the Edinburgh Festival Fringe last year, so we hope that we can welcome a number of you back again over the month of August and beyond, so please keep in touch.